Hello to everyone. In this video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips on how to travel as cheaply as possible. So if you have nothing to do, grab your favorite drink and stay with me. Welcome back. Many of you will believe that just because I got this YouTube channel and sponsors, I am able to travel as long as I want without even thinking about money, right? I wish to be like that, but the reality it's a little bit different, especially now when the whole world experiences this recession or this high inflation. Of course, I have to think about money. I always try to travel on budget. That's why I decided to make this video, even that I've got one similar on this topic, but it is already like 4 years old and it is time to upgrade it. Of course, I still believe in the same principles, but I'm gonna list some new, and I hope that this will help you, at least one person, to make the right decisions. So let's finally begin with the tips. Number 1 is the motorcycle choice. I know that this might sound not exactly on the place now, because who cares what kind of motorcycle, the important is to travel. You can travel cheap with expensive motorcycle, but it is not exactly like that. Because if you travel with an expensive or exotic model, of course you're gonna need more different type of hotels with garages, maybe with parking. You will have an expensive maintenance, especially if you have some very rare model. You need to go to the specific dealers, they are not everywhere, and this somehow will raise the total price of your trip and also limit many of the possible routes that you can choose because of the exotic that you're riding. Also, in every place that you stop, hotel, restaurants, coffee, people will see you as a wallet that it needs to be emptied. You might disagree with these statements, but this is how our human brain works. When we see a person with expensive car or motorcycle, we believe that the owner got a lot of money. In most of the cases it might be like this, but this is how we think, and you cannot change the human behavior just because you're different. Tip number 2, pick the right destination. It is obvious that a motorcycle trip around Europe will be much more expensive than a trip around Asia. But how much more? Well, the examples that I have now, and I'm gonna tell you about it, are 2. One from Turkey and one from Europe. Both got about the same length, style and route choice. On both trips I saw everything that I planned, but the difference was huge. The whole Turkey trip cost me around 1,500 euros. In Europe, 1,500 euros was only the price of petrol. If I add the price of the ferries that I have paid, 6 times 80 euros is 480 euros without even paying for cabins. And if I add on the top of this the price of hotels, hostels, camping spot, food, restaurants, coffees, it became like almost 4,000 euros. If I divide it into 45 days, it makes 90 euros per day. A few years ago, I was able to travel around Europe for 50 euros per day, but not anymore. At the moment, it's safe to say that you will need about 100 euros per day. From these 2 examples, you can easily see that the difference is almost double just because of the destination. So remember it, the destination choice is very important. Tip number 3, don't ride fast. There are actually 3 very good reasons to do it. The first is obvious, to save money on petrol. How much exactly, you might say? Well, let me show you. The example will be my motorcycle Yamaha Tenere 700. In normal riding speeds like 90 to 100 km per hour, it uses 4 liters per 100 kilometers. If I twist to 120, 130 km per hour, the petrol consumption will rise to almost 4 liters per 100 kilometers. To put this in perspective, on my trip, 15,000 kilometers will cost me an additional 500 euros. This is a huge difference, isn't it? I hope that I got your attention now. But the second example, speed cameras and fines, is even more dramatic. In some countries like Switzerland, for example, if you're not careful, you can easily finish with bills for more than 1,000, 1,500 euros for just crossing the country. The third reason not to ride fast is the risk to make an accident. Even a small drop on the side might cost you a lot of money if you break some important elements of the bike, so you don't need to risk even more with reckless driving style. I don't need even to remind you that you're mortal and nothing worth more than your own life. Number 4, take your tent. Even though I'm not a big proponent of the tenting, now on my trip around Europe, especially around Sardinia and Corsica, I have to use the tent all the time because the cheaper option for accommodation was like 90 euros. So it is like must-have item on any motorcycle trip because you never know when you're going to need it. Also, I use it a few times around Spain in wild campings, and this actually cost me nothing. On the other hand, if you travel around Asia, the hotels will cost you less than the camping spots around Europe. In Turkey, most of the nights I spent it for $10 to $12. In Europe now, the camping spots in Sardinia and Corsica were between 15 and 20 euros. This is a big difference, but again, we have to go back again to tip number 2, which is to pick the right destination if you want to travel cheap. Tip number 5, make a good plan in advance. I understand that many of you will like to travel without any plans and improvise, but from my experience, improvisations when you travel on budget will lead you to only problems. You can do it if you're owner of golden credit card without any limits, but if this is your case, you wouldn't watch the video in the first place. So my advice, make a good plan in advance. This doesn't mean to be very strict and plan every hour, every stop. No, absolutely not. But you should have at least a basic map of where you're going and an idea about the places over there. This will help you to make a better plans, better routes, to avoid some expensive places, hotels, restaurants, maybe expensive highways, ferries or stuff like that. And in general, this will help you to save a lot of money. For example, if you plan to cross France, Italy or Spain only on the highways, this will cost you an additional at least 100 euros per country. So for 3 countries, 300 euros. On the top of that, you have to add the price of extra petrol that you're gonna spend there because you will ride faster, and the price of the expensive hotels and restaurants that are usually located on the highways. And when you calculate all of this, the price of your journey will rise significantly. Of course, you might counter the argument and tell me that just because you're gonna ride on the highways, you'll be fast and you'll need less time or less days in every country, and this actually will save you the bills from hotels. But if this is your understanding of traveling to riding on the highways fast without seeing anything just because you want to save money from hotels, there is nothing I can do for you at that moment. Hold on, Pavlen, does that mean that I have to book all the hotels in advance just to have a good plan? Technically, you can do it, and this might even save you some money, but my advice is don't do it. Because on the motorcycle trips, nothing is guaranteed. First, you don't know when exactly you're going to reach the specific town, unless you shoot only for this, how I'm gonna get there as fast as possible. And the second is that you might be slowed down from heavy traffic, maybe bad weather conditions, accident, anything is possible to happen. So my advice is don't book anything until you're sure that you can reach this place. What I usually do, I book a hotel when I'm sure that I'm gonna get there, let's say 100 kilometers away from the destination, or even less sometimes, because as I told you, there are many circumstances that could stop you to go there on time. Or another example is you might meet some really nice people and you want to spend a few days more with these people, or a nice location, and you decide, okay, let's stay one more day here because it's great. So all of this will limit your journey if you booked everything in advance. As I told you, I booked everything in last minute. Sometimes you can get in last minute even very good deals in platforms like booking.com or expedia.com or any other similar platforms, but nothing needs to be booked in advance. Alright, Pavlen, but what about if I'm not able to find a place to sleep? I wait until the last moment and then there is nothing in Booking, nothing in Expedia, I cannot find any hotel. Well, just ask locals. They will point you where to go. If this is not even possible, then you have your tent. That's why I told you the tent is one of the most important items that you should have on your trip anyway, especially if you plan to save money. Of course, there are many more tips, but I believe that these are the most important 5 or the tips that gonna save you the biggest amount of money on your trips. So if you want to learn more about motorcycle trips, long motorcycle trips, you can always check the rest of the videos on the channel. I've got more than 1000. If you want to learn but you don't have the time, you might consider joining my online course. Yes, it will cost you money, but at the moment it's on 50% discount, and over there only for 8 hours you'll be able to learn the most important and finally start with your dream adventures. All the details will be in the description down below. See you next time. Ciao.